Ellie hadn't seen her grandparents in months, yet every creak of the screen door, every measured footstep inside felt rehearsed, as though someone had studied her memories and arranged them into a flawless but lifeless play. By the time the kettle whistled in the silent kitchen, she realized it wasn't the dark that unsettled her. It was the way familiar voices now echoed with the flat certainty of strangers. I hadn't been back to Meadow Creek since spring break, but the 2-lane road unfurling through late summer cornfields still felt like home. I rolled the windows down, letting cicada song and the warm smell of drying husks swirl through my little sedan. Only when the sun dipped behind the silo ridges did a shiver slide across my shoulders. Maybe it was the twilight. Maybe just a foreboding I refused to name. Grandma and Grandpa's house appeared at the end of dusty hilltop lane exactly as always. White clapboard, green shutters, porch swing creaking in the breeze. Yet the instant Grandpa opened the screen door, something inside me recoiled. His smile was precise, too practiced, as though painted on. "Welcome back, Ellie," he said, flat, monotone, like a GPS voice that had memorized the syllables but none of the warmth. Grandma's greeting was the same, perfect phrasing, perfect posture, not a hint of genuine delight. Months ago, she would have rushed to straighten my collar, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. Tonight she just stood beside Grandpa, hands folded, as though she'd rehearsed a tableau of domesticity. We settled into the kitchen. The walls still boasted quilted pot holders and faded school photos of me in crooked frames. But the house felt hollow, as if someone had scooped out its memories and left the decor behind. While Grandma stirred stew, Grandpa watched from the doorway, watching me in the way a scientist watches a specimen. "How's college?" he asked. My major used to thrill him. He'd spent hours proofreading my history papers. I started to tell a story about my internship, but his gaze drifted to the stovetop timer. When it dinged, he ended the conversation with a mechanical nod and turned away. Dinner tasted fine, yet every bite lodged in my throat. Between chewing, I studied them. Their faces looked like wax copies, identical wrinkles, identical freckles, but the anima I loved was gone. Where were Grandpa's exaggerated laughs? Where was Grandma's humming as she served dessert? They moved in unison, silent, until a question required speech, then back to silence again. After dishes, Grandpa produced the night's tepid entertainment, a single deck of cards. We played rummy beneath the yellow kitchen bulb that made the refrigerator hum louder than usual. Both of them smiled politely whenever I scored. No playful teasing, no stories about the grandkids down the street, just numbers, paper, plastic grins. By 10, an oppressive quiet had sealed every hallway. I kissed their cheeks goodnight and climbed the stairs to the guest room. But sleep was impossible. That vacant cheer, the dull cadence, something was wrong, profoundly wrong. At midnight I cracked the door. The hallway lay in darkness except for a nightlight casting long warped shadows. My heartbeat thudded in my ears as I knelt by the window. The antique sash squealed when I lifted it, but I froze, listening. No footsteps, no voices, only the constant chirp of crickets outside. I swung my legs onto the porch roof, then dropped silently to the lawn. Damp grass soaked my socks as I crept around the house. The bedroom curtains were half drawn. Grandpa always pulled them shut. But tonight they hung parted, like a stage awaiting its actors. I rose on tiptoe and peered through the pane. The bedspread lay perfectly smooth, turned down on both sides. On top of it, carefully arranged as though for display in a museum, rested 2 collapsed bundles of skin. I gagged, because that skin was theirs. The shapes mimicked human forms, faces slack, eye holes empty, mouths flaccid and gaping, hands withering like rubber gloves. Grandma's floral nightgown draped one husk. Grandpa's striped pajama top buttoned loosely over the other, but there was nothing inside. No bone, no organs, just the outer shell. A scream tore out of me. I stumbled backward, tripped over the azaleas, and sprinted for the field. My throat burned as I shrieked, "Help! Somebody help!" Porch lights flicked on across Hilltop Lane. Doors banged open. The Wilkersons, burly Mr. Wilkerson and his teenage twin boys, sprinted toward the commotion, rifles in hand from late-night coyote watch. Before they reached me, something heavy slammed into the grass behind. I whirled to see two towering forms emerging from the darkness. Amorphous, hideous, dripping strands of translucent slime. Multi-jointed limbs sprouted at impossible angles. Their heads were smooth domes splitting into vertical maws, lined with needle teeth that glowed faintly blue. They moved on four limbs until they reared upright, mouths chittering like cockroaches trapped in glass. One lash of a sinewy arm caught my ankle. Pain blazed and I hit the ground. "Run, Ellie!" Mr. Wilkerson shouted, leveling his shotgun. A thunderous blast rocked the night. The creature shrieked, dropping me, then lunged sideways with astonishing speed. Its partner darted into the corn rows. The twins fired round after round, moonlit barrels flashing. Finally, both monsters disappeared into the stalks, leaves thrashing in their wake. I lay trembling in the grass, ankle bleeding where barbed fingers had punctured skin. The Wilkersons hauled me upright, scanning the fields. "Where did they come from?" Mr. Wilkerson demanded. They were wearing my grandparents," I sobbed, pointing to the house. "Their bodies, suits, on the bed." He frowned, then motioned the boys. Together, they followed me inside. We crept upstairs, rifles raised. The hall reeked of damp earth and something chemical. In the bedroom, the Wilkersons' flashlights swept across the sheets, illuminating the grotesque skins. Mr. Wilkerson paled. Sweet Jesus. He wrapped them in an old quilt, careful not to touch bare flesh, and we backed out. We barricaded ourselves in the kitchen, lights blazing, weapons ready. None of us slept. Dawn bled pink across the curtains when the sheriff's Tahoe crunched up the driveway. Sheriff Dalton strode in, grey-mustached, pot-bellied, and two deputies flanked him, expressionless in mirrored sunglasses, though sunrise was barely up. My story spilled out between shakes and tears. The Wilkersons confirmed every detail. The deputies bagged the skins, tagging them as evidence, then loaded them into the SUV. But when Deputy Lane turned, I caught his eyes, blank, depthless, like a mannequin's. Cold dread clenched my stomach. Deputy Haskins looked the same. Was that the same dead monotone lurking just beneath their professional yes sirs? As the Tahoe reversed, I whispered to Mr. Wilkerson, "They have the same stare. They're not human." He didn't argue. Instead, he sent the twins to pack essentials, canned food, ammo, fuel. "We get you out, kid, but if they've taken the sheriff's office too, no one else here is safe." By noon, 3 duffel bags were loaded into Mr. Wilkerson's pickup. Before we left, Tim, the older twin by 7 minutes, suggested a grim solution. "If the station's infested, those things could use radios, files, whatever. We torch it." The logic was brutal but compelling. We filled 5 red gas cans, tossed them into the bed, and drove the back roads toward town. Fireflies of fear darted in my gut the whole way. Meadow Creek's main square was eerily quiet. No kids biking. No seniors gossiping at the diner. The sheriff's office squatted beside the post office, windows dark. As we rolled past, a curtain twitched upstairs. "We're too exposed," Mr. Wilkerson muttered. He parked behind the hardware store, and we crept along the alley, gas cans in hand. Afternoon heat shimmered above the asphalt, the only sound the drone of a distant lawnmower. Inside the abandoned jail courtyard, We found the patrol cars, all doors ajar, keys dangled in ignitions, radios crackled with static, but no voices. My skin prickled, a predator's lair after the hunt. Tim unscrewed the nozzle and sloshed fuel across the dispatch entrance. His brother doused the conference room. Mr. Wilkerson soaked the cell block's wooden roof beams. Last, I traced a line from the porch to a pile of cardboard boxes, the fuse. My lighter clicked, flame trembling. Then a voice, calm and hauntingly familiar, sliced the stillness behind me. "Did you think it would be that easy?" I spun. Grandma and Grandpa. No, the creatures wearing their likenesses stood at the alley mouth. Their eyes were black voids. Each held a grisly trophy, the twins' severed heads, mouths frozen in terror, bleeding down plaid shirts. The lighter slipped from my fingers. Mr. Wilkerson roared, charging with his shotgun. The monster that wore Grandpa's form dropped Tim's head and swatted Mr. Wilkerson aside like a rag doll, snapping bone. The one in Grandma's shell moved quicker than thought, seizing my arms. Its skin rippled, seams splitting to reveal sinew and glistening mandibles beneath the human veneer. I screamed, thrashing, but the claws tightened. The creature leaned close. Its breath was cold, smelling of soil and copper. "Skin is useful," it rasped in a voice that was half grandma, half static. "Flavor lasts longer inside." They pinned me atop the patrol car's hood. Somewhere above the haze of fear I heard sirens, real or imagined, I'll never know. My wrists bled where claws pierced them. The creature's maw widened impossibly. Needle teeth grazed my collarbone. Then came a roar of flame, gasoline igniting where the lighter had fallen. Fire crawled up the cardboard, hungrily licking porch railings. Heat whooshed across the lot. For an instant, the monsters hesitated, eye pits reflecting orange. I twisted free enough to grab the shotgun Mr. Wilkerson had dropped. I'd never fired one, but instinct overrode terror. I squeezed the trigger. Recoil slammed my shoulder. Pellets ripped through the grandpa thing's cheek. Black ichor spurted, sizzling where it hit pavement. It shrieked, a sound like metal torn in half, and backhanded me. My vision exploded with stars. The weapon clattered away. Flames leapt higher, engulfing the wooden awning. Window glass popped outward, showering us in glittering shards. Smoke rolled thick and stinging. The grandma thing yanked me by the hair. "Enough," it hissed. "We feast now." Sirens wailed louder, definitely real this time. Maybe other deputies, maybe more monsters. I didn't care. My vision tunneled around the inferno's glare. Suddenly the roof collapsed inward with a thunderous crack. Embers rained. A burning beam smashed beside us, spattering molten tar. The creatures recoiled. Seizing the moment, I lunged backward, slipping through their grasp, scraping skin off my elbows on concrete. Fire seethed in my lungs, but I crawled, straight into the shattered lobby, through the flames. Pain blistered up my forearms. Behind me they snarled, unwilling, perhaps unable, to enter the full fury of the blaze. I stumbled into a narrow hallway choked with smoke. Every door looked the same. Sirens and shouting converged outside. I knew I had minutes at most before the monsters navigated the heat, or the structure fell on top of me. But then another nightmare vision rounded the far corner. Deputy Lane and Deputy Haskins. Faces blank, skins beginning to peel at their neck seams from the oven heat. They reached for me with taloned hands that emerged as cuffed sleeves melted away. Instinct hurled me into the nearest office. Evidence lockup. Rifles and confiscated handguns lined the walls. I slammed the door, bolted it, heart slamming like a drum. Acrid smoke pooled at the ceiling. The deputies pounded on the door, hinges groaning. I grabbed a .45 and a box of magazines. Grandpa had taught me pistol basics when I was 13, but outside things went eerily silent. Then came a single whisper through the keyhole. Dozens of voices overlapping, patient, cold, hungry. The pounding resumed, furious. Wood splintered. I fired twice. The echo inside the tiny room was deafening, my ears ringing. The door sagged but held. Firelight glowed behind the mini blinds. The building was dying. I realized the only way out was up. I dragged a metal filing cabinet under the ceiling vent and climbed, wrenching the grate loose. Hot air whooshed around me. I hoisted myself into the crawl space, scalding knees on ductwork. Beneath, the door finally burst. Screeches tore through the smoke. I crawled, coughing, until a thin shaft of daylight pierced ahead, an exit grate onto the roof. With blackened fingers, I kicked it free and emerged into blazing afternoon sun. Flames licked the shingles beneath me. Across the square, townsfolk gathered in horrified clumps as more patrol cars arrived, whether human or not, I couldn't tell. The roof shook. One creature, Grandpa's skin peeled away, revealing glistening carapace, scrambled onto the shingles. Behind it, the grandma beast followed, limbs distortioned, charred patches oozing pitch. They spotted me and hissed in tandem. I was cornered at the roof's edge. Sirens merged with the roar of fire, a cauldron of chaos. I leveled the pistol. 8 rounds left. Bang! I caught the grandpa thing in the throat. Black fluid spurted, sizzling. Bang! Bang! The grandma thing's shoulder exploded but kept coming. Tiles cracked under its claws. Its maw gaped, rows of teeth and a secondary jaw snapping forward. Shadows danced in that chasm, an abyssal hunger. I thought of birthday cakes Grandma used to bake, of Grandpa teaching me to ride a bike, and fury replaced fear. I screamed and emptied the magazine into its face. The creature stumbled, but momentum carried it forward. It slammed into me. We toppled off the roof together, spinning through smoke. I crashed onto the hood of a cruiser. The monster landed on the asphalt beside it with a wet crunch. Everything blurred into sirens, shouting, water cannons. My ribs screamed with each breath. From the pavement, I saw firefighters dousing flames, neighbors crying, deputies barking orders, and somewhere amid them, more blank stares. Someone lifted me onto a gurney. Paramedics or monsters wearing their faces. I couldn't tell any more. As they rolled me past the creature's corpse, I saw its skin sloughing away, revealing nothing but quivering muscle and a lattice of needle bones. It twitched once, then stilled. Yet around us, the townspeople argued whether the fire was sabotage. A deputy ordered the crowd back, voice monotone. I closed my eyes. I awoke in Meadow Creek Medical's intensive care. Bandages wrapped my ribs. IVs dripped into bruised arms. Mr. Wilkerson was dead. The twins were dead. My grandparents' bodies had never been found. The sheriff's office stood a charred husk. Official reports labeled the attackers unknown assailants. Every few hours, a nurse, her smile just a little too perfect, came to check my vitals. Sometimes the overhead lights flickered, and her smile froze, eyes going vacant for a heartbeat before life returned. And I wondered, how many skins hung in closets across town? How many neighbors had been replaced while we slept? How long before the hospital staff peeled themselves off and feasted? I'm writing this from bed 37 before the morphine sets in. If anyone finds these pages, believe me, they wear us like costumes. They study us, imitate our voices, our memories, waiting until we trust them again. Listen closely the next time a loved one speaks. If their warmth has flattened, if their laughter sounds rehearsed, it may already be too late. I hear footsteps now, soft, deliberate. The hallway lights dim, my door latch clicks. They've come to collect another suit.